Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 761. April 24th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, it is Wednesday, and that means I'll be having chicken. I'll be having chicken and I'll be taking out the trash because it is Wednesday, and every Wednesday I have chicken and take out the trash. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right to the news, and of course we'll get to announcing the winner of the Dumbass of the Week at the end of the video. Alrighty, we're going to start off today with something that's either going to make you very, very angry and have many of you pulling your hair out and screaming, or you're going to be laughing hysterically. I'm not sure how this is going to affect each of you individually. I got really angry. I don't have the I guess the funny bone for this particular deal here. Okay, so here is a quote from the rotten Reverend Clinton. Quote, "There is enough in the Mueller report that any other person who engaged in those acts would have been indicted." Oh, wow. Wow, did she just say that? Did the rotten reverend just say that there's enough evidence in the Mueller report that any other person who engaged in those acts would have been indicted? Oh, man. She's a pure demon, man. This is probably the most... what's the word? Audacious? Yes. This is probably the most audacious thing I've ever heard. Here's the rotten Reverend Clinton, guilty of all these crimes, all this evidence against her, and yet she walks around scot-free making comments like this. Making comments like this. Well, if there was, Reverend, enough evidence in the Mueller investigation, then why did he not charge or indict? Or just say in his report that, oh, Trump was colluding with the Russians. Oh, there is obstruction. That's not what he said. He said there was no collusion and he can't make a decision on collusion, which is not his job. As a prosecutor, your job's not to come to a no decision. It's either you've got the goods or you don't. If you don't, you say, we don't have the goods. That's it. You don't leave it hanging up in the air, which is what Uncle Bob did. But Uncle Bob's got a lot of problems. Keep that in mind. He's got criminal liability problems because he was part of the coup, and that is going to be exposed in the end. And he, like many of these other perps, will also be needing to lawyer up. Uncle Bob is he's in a world of shit, let's put it that way. The rotten reverend, the chutzpah of the rotten reverend. Man, if you're A.G. Barr and you're reading this comment, how can you not immediately just and slap the cuffs on her? They've got all the evidence. Now, there's apparently investigations going on. We've been hearing this for years. But hopefully A.G. Barr sees this comment and it drives him up the wall, because it certainly drove me up the wall. Still is driving me up the wall. I cannot believe she would say something like that. There's enough in the Mueller report that any other person who engaged in those acts would have been indicted. Let's take a look at the acts that you were involved in, Reverend, and there's a lot of them. Many, many, many things to look at. Many things to look at. Barr needs to immediately, if he has not done so already, reopen the Clinton email investigation, the Uranium One incident, the pay-for-play investigations, and all the rest. There's plenty there. This woman needs to be, in fact, she's not even a woman. She's a demon. This demon-possessed bitch needs to be locked up. I mean, literally locked up. Unbelievable that those words have come out of the mouth of the rotten reverend. Okay, let's move on. Well, Commie Bernie wants incarcerated felons to vote. Yep, that's what he said. Now, I believe that once a person has served their time and they have been released from prison and they're done and they've paid their debt to society, that they should be able to re-emerge in society and have a normal life, and that would include voting. But not while you're serving time for the crime you committed. Not while you're incarcerated, not while you're in prison. After you served your time, then you should be able to vote. I don't know if you should be able to own a gun again. It depends on what you did. But yeah, I think people who get out of prison and serve their time should be able to vote, and I think most people would agree with that. But Bernie is talking about literally people, felons in prison, being able to vote. Commie Bernie, man, I do hope he is the nominee. He's going to get absolutely blown out. Trump will win 44, 43, 44 states if Bernie is the nominee. It'll be an absolute mega blowout. But something else that's interesting to note, after Bernie made the comment that he wants incarcerated felons to vote, we get another crazy tweet from Cher, where it appears that she's been red-pilled again. If you remember last week, when everybody was talking about the immigration thing, Cher came out and said, hey, wait a minute. We don't have enough resources here to take care of the people we have in our city now. And you're suggesting shipping all these illegals here? In other words, she got red-pilled. She thought about it and thought, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Now we have Cher again commenting on Twitter asking, is Bernie really serious about giving felons the right to vote? So it appears that Cher has been red-pilled 2 times in the last 2 weeks. Maybe Trump has finally gotten to her. Maybe Cher is going to become a Trump fan. How funny would that be? Anything's possible. Anything is possible. Yeah, and Trump met on Tuesday with Jack Dorsey, of course, the head of Twitter, and of course he had a couple lawyers there and a PR person and a couple other people, but I don't really know. They haven't really released a lot about the specifics about that conversation, but I'm pretty sure that Trump didn't exactly sit there and have a sort of a la-di-da, happy-go-lucky conversation with Mr. Dorsey and his legal counsel and other people. I'm pretty sure that in that not one-on-one, but Trump and a couple of his people and Dorsey's people, I'm pretty sure that Trump laid down the law to Dorsey and probably said, look, dude, if you continue shadow banning conservatives and banning conservatives on your site, we're going to start regulating you. And and the Congress already wants to put together a bill to do that. And I'll let you know right now, if you continue what you're doing, I will sign that bill and we will regulate your ass out of business. How about that? So I'm pretty sure Trump laid down the law to Jack Dorsey today in no uncertain terms, let him know what he thought about the type of things that go on there at Twitter. So I think we can anticipate that's what happened. Let's move on. Well, many of you have heard this already. It appears that the Nigerian brothers, who are actually not Nigerians, the Sandiaro brothers, have filed a lawsuit against the attorneys for Jussie Smollett for slander, I believe. And they are saying in their statement that Jussie directed every aspect of that attack. He directed every aspect of that attack. You know, it's funny. Has anyone seen the Osundario brothers on MSNBC, CNN, any of the other left-wing outlets? Have you seen any major left-wing news outlet papers interview these guys and run the story in their papers? For some reason, none of the left-wing media seems very interested in interviewing the Osundario brothers. Now, maybe they had a gag order or something. I don't know what's going on here. But it's funny that we haven't seen these guys out there. But now that they're making this, filing this lawsuit, I would not be surprised to see either they or their attorneys appear probably on Fox. I don't think they're going to put this on MSNBC and CNN. They're locked into Jussie's story. So, anyways, very interesting. Yes, the Osundario brothers have filed a lawsuit, I believe, for slander against the lawyer of Jussie Smollett. And they're saying that Jussie Smollett directed every single aspect of the attack, and that was set up 4 days before the attack was staged. And it's not over for Smollett. There's a lot more to come in that whole deal. That prosecutor's probably going to be run out of her job, I would think. She's not going to last too much longer. She may even be facing criminal liability. I don't think she's long for this world and that job anymore. And I believe that ultimately this Smollett issue is not going away. I think that he is eventually going to be in some trouble. Well, for the second time, the Treasury Department has denied releasing Trump's taxes to Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler issued a subpoena, and first he sent a letter, then he issued a subpoena. They're telling him no both times. He's not getting Trump's taxes, okay? I said that 2 weeks ago. Everybody else is telling him. Nadler just does not want to listen. He can't comprehend what we're saying here. You are not getting Trump's taxes. You're not getting them, Jerry. Not to go on a witch hunt. No, no, no. If he has IRS problems, that's the IRS's business. It's between the IRS and Trump. Not you, Jerry. Uh-oh. The Washington Examiner is reporting that on page 109 of the Mueller report, which is redacted, page 109 is redacted, and what they're saying is there, that's behind that redaction, is conversation about the fact that Russia tapped the phone of Bill Clinton when he was president, and they had captured basically phone sex between Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. The Russians tapped Bill Clinton's phones when he was talking to Monica Lewinsky, when apparently they were having phone sex. These are some sick, sick people. And that is what is behind the redactions in page 109. I don't know why they'd redact something like that. Would that surprise anybody? Would it surprise you to know that Clinton and Monica Lewinsky were not only having sex, they were having phone sex? And would it surprise you that the Russians and the Chinese and probably everyone else on the planet was listening in? It shouldn't. Hell, for all we know, Bill Clinton probably called Vladimir and gave him the information and said, "Hey, man, you got to tune in to me tonight. I'm going to be having phone sex with Monica Lewinsky. Maybe you can listen on the line and have a little fun yourself." Knowing these crazy people. So many of you probably saw John Ratcliffe, on with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday morning, and or actually it wasn't on Maria Bartiromo, it was on Laura Ingram's show with Jason Chaffetz filling in. And on that show, Ratcliffe said that Comey, Yates, McCabe, and Rodenstein all lied on the FISA application. Remember, he's one of the very few people that has seen all those FISA applications. Unredacted, by the way. He's seen it all. He's read it all. He knows what's there. And he said that there is no doubt that they all lied on the FISA application. And he said that he's certain that there are people who have been are part of the criminal referral that Nunes sent up. And there'll be more criminal referrals on these people as well. And of course, AG Barr is going to discover everything they were involved in. But one thing that Ratcliffe said, he said, hey, look, he said, in reading through those FISA applications, he said not only did they sign off on them, but they all wrote in large, all capital letters on each of the 3 pages, verified application, in their own writing. They all wrote the words verified application. Comey, Yates, McCabe, and Rodenstein all wrote on all 3 pages of the FISA application, verified application, in large, bold letters. Wow. That's amazing. And that's why Ratcliffe says they absolutely did lie, because they absolutely did not verify the information in the application, because it's mostly the dossier, and we know that's totally salacious and unverified, according to Comey. But for whatever reason, he wrote verified application, as did Yates, McCabe, and Rodenstein. These people have a lot of problems. Legal problems, criminal problems. The type that put you in jail for quite some time. Now we know why Rodenstein looked the way he did in that press conference. He knows the game is up. Here's a good question. Can the media be charged for FARA violations? There's a very good article that you should read over at the Epoch Times by Brian Cates. And you will see his column there. Look over on the left-hand side of Epoch Times, and you will see his column where he addresses the issue. I'll give you the very short version of it, but it's worth reading the entire thing. But it basically, he says that anybody with influence who takes money from a foreign power to lobby on their behalf without disclosing it and registering as a foreign agent under FARA, F-A-R-A, is breaking the law. Well, that's a very good point by Brian Cates, because that is absolutely true. That's exactly what foreign lobbying is. You're accepting money from a foreign government to speak on their behalf. Now, we know for a fact that the Saudis give large amounts of money to Fox News Corp. And we know that they give money to CNN. And we know that there are other governments who also pay news media organizations large amounts of money. Therefore, if these media organizations are receiving large amounts of money from these foreign governments and they are reporting things that are in the best interest of these people, which they do, and there's plenty of evidence of that, then that means all these media organizations need to be registered as foreign agents. And if they're not, they're in violation of the law. Somebody needs to look into that, don't you think? And there's also this other thing that's kind of going around too, that's been going around for several days now, and I think a couple people have mentioned it in the comments section. It gets pretty involved. It would take probably a whole video to sort through it. It's probably easier if I just have you go read it for yourself. So if you'll go over to, again, the Epoch Times, EPOCH Times, and look for the Jeff Carlson story on Dana Boente, you will have a very, very interesting read. Again, it's kind of complicated. It gets in there. It's not hard to understand. It's just there's a lot there. It's a long article. A lot of Carlson's articles are long, but this one's well worth reading. And this is something that Bongino was talking about last Friday. It's something other people have been paying attention to. And it's this strange situation that we have with Dana Boente. Just before Obama left office at the last moment, he signed an executive order which would have removed Boente from his normal line of succession. Obviously, to stop Boente from taking a position that he was going to be moving into after other people were either fired, quit, or what have you. So Obama obviously wanted to stop Boente from being able to move up in his chain, which is normally the case. So Obama signed an executive order which removed Boente from this line of succession. But since Trump has been president, he has continued to upgrade and move Boente up into major, crucial roles in his government. And the question is, why? Because remember, Dana Boente was one of the people who did sign off on one of the FISAs. And he was in this group of the coup plotters. So the idea that Bongino and Carlson doesn't really try to necessarily make this point. It was Bongino mainly making this point that they believe that, or Bongino believes, that Boente has been turned. That he's been turned and he's now working with Barr or Huber or whoever is doing this investigation. And so this talk's been out there for about a week. So if you want to know why this talk is out there and what the facts are and all the details are, is what's going on here, and you really want to read it for yourself, it's pretty damning, let's put it that way. It's pretty informative as well. I would highly recommend you go over to the Epoch Times and read this article by Jeff Carlson regarding Dana Boente and how Trump has put him, continued to move him up in his positions there in the government in general, and why Obama tried to block him from being able to move up. It's very interesting things going on around him, and it's possible, certainly, that he could have been turned. There's still a lot more to learn before we can actually know. And there's other people who it appears may be turning, and one of them may be the Italian government. So let's get to that right now. Yeah. Before we get to that, though, I do have... Yeah, Andy McCarthy on Fox saying that, yes, he does know AG William Barr, and he believes that William Barr is going to clean house. Okay, so Papadopoulos is on a radio program, and we learned some more things from Papadopoulos. He says that his wife told him right after he first started talking to her about Misfit and telling, hey, I met this guy Misfit, he knows a lot of people, he's well connected, and at which point she looked at him kind of like, what are you talking about, Misfit? I know him very well. I've been working around him at the European Parliament for a long time. A lot of people know him. He's very well known. Let me tell you, this guy is not your friend. I mean, this guy is a Hillary Clinton apparatchik. And she went on to tell Papadopoulos that she knows for a fact that Misfit had dinner with the rotten Reverend Clinton, and a senior level Italian diplomat during the 2016 election, during the general 2016 election, not during the primary. So that's very interesting. We keep hearing about Misfit's ties to the Clintons, but this is the first time we've heard that he had a personal dinner with her and this Italian, high-level Italian diplomat. There'll be more on this in just a moment. So that's another bomb that Papadopoulos is dropping. Also, something else, Papadopoulos directed us to a certain page of the transcripts that were released recently. And so I went and took a look at the page he's talking about and what he was actually talking about. And it's absolutely true what he's saying on this radio interview. The exact wording is there. And what he's talking about, and this is why he believes that he was wired or wiretapped or was being recorded or surveilled or what have you. It's because the question that Mark Meadows asked him. Mark Meadows asked Papadopoulos this question during his hearings. He asked Papadopoulos if his lawyers were ever given transcripts of his conversations with Halper or Downer. Why would Meadows ask Papadopoulos if his lawyers had ever been given transcripts of conversations between he and Halper and he and Downer? Well, that just wouldn't come out of nowhere, out of thin air. It's pretty clear that Meadows knows that there are transcripts of the conversations between Halper and Papadopoulos and Downer and Papadopoulos. There are transcripts, which means they probably were recording. We have yet to see those, nor has anybody been able to come out and confirm it. Now, Meadows could not come out and confirm that they exist because that would be releasing classified information at this point. Hopefully, at some point, we will get full declassification and we'll get to see those transcripts between Pops and Downer and Pops and Halper. I'm sure they exist. A.G. Barr is probably reading them now. My oh my. You know, as much as we've gone through this, and as much as, you know, I have a timeline that takes about 3.5 hours to read through. And that's not even everything. I mean, I didn't go try to put every single tiny little detail. I just try to put the major things that I need. I could make it 4 times longer than it is now. But, I mean, I do want people to be able to go through and read it, including myself. But as much as we know, I'll be honest with you guys, I think we only know about probably 25%. I think there's a whole lot more that we don't know. There's a whole lot more that we don't know. We know enough to know that there was a coup. But I think there's a lot more left to learn. Not just a little. A lot. We're not just waiting for a few more little things. There's a lot left to be learned. And I'm sure A.G. Barr, if he is what people who know him says he is, he will get to the bottom of this. It's going to take a while. But man, oh man, what we're going to learn in the months to come. Papadopoulos also relays some more information. He says that he was on Fox News a few days ago, and he was talking about Misfit. That was the primary topic. It was on Fox in the morning show with Brian Kilmeade and Ducey and the little blonde girl. And they're having this conversation, and it's all about Misfit. Well, right after that aired, Trump sends out a tweet about what they were talking about, and Misfit and this type of thing. Then Papadopoulos is suggesting at this point that after that, he is suggesting that Trump, and we know this is true, Trump did contact the Italian Prime Minister right after that interview and the tweet. The very next day, Trump contacts the Italian Prime Minister. Now, they'll probably say, well, they were talking about trade, they were talking about terrorism, they were probably talking about this, talking about that, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they were talking about. I'm pretty sure what they were talking about is Mifsud, because what happened the very next day? we get this leak or this story comes out that, hey, Misfit is living 2 blocks away from the embassy there in Italy. He's being held up there, protected. Link University, which he owns 35% of, we just learned that yesterday, is actually either owns this place or is paying for Misfit to be there. And he is there, and they are watching him. They've got security. Apparently, have given him a new identity, given him a new name, given him new papers, whatever. They are protecting him because they think his life is in danger. And that's where he is being held up for his own security. So a lot of people are suggesting that Trump obviously saw this interview with Papadopoulos on Fox and Friends, where he brought up this Italian prime minister and Misfit, which a lot of people believe at this point Trump must have called the Italian prime minister and said, hey, this guy Misfit, he's key to this entire thing that happened. And we know that you know where Misfit is. And we want to talk to Misfit. And we want to get the truth out of Misfit. So we need to talk. Because, this whole thing's coming out. And it's time for, folks like you to come clean. So maybe Trump worked out something with the Italian prime minister and said, look, we're talking about Donald Trump here, okay? We're not talking about a guy who's going to soft shoe anybody. We're talking about a guy who probably would tell the Italian prime minister, look, buddy, you or certainly rogue elements of your government were working against me and coordinating in part of a coup against me. And this is all going to come out, my friend. The truth is all coming out. There's no question where it's coming out. It is coming out. It's being investigated right now, and I'm going to see to it the truth comes out. You're going to look pretty bad. Here's what I suggest. I suggest that you allow Misfit, you allow our agents, our FBI agents, or our people investigating this to come over and interview Misfit, and we get the truth out of him, and then we'll cover you. You give us Misfit, we'll cover you when the shit hits the fan. If you don't give us Misfit or access to Misfit, when the shit hits the fan, we're going to just dump it all over you. And don't ask me for any favors. Oh, by the way, that foreign aid or anything else that we do, we can do things that you probably wouldn't like. So it's time for you to come clean and cooperate. We want to talk to Misfit. Make him available, or we're going to have some problems. Because what happens? Pops goes on Fox News, and they spend most of the time talking about Misfit. Trump tweets out the interview. Then the next day, he calls the Italian prime minister, and we know that happened. Then the very next day, we get these leaks about Misfit. Where he is, who's protecting him, how long he's been there, what they've been doing, why they've been doing it. I would not be the least bit surprised if Barr's got FBI agents over there right now. Because we have an FBI office in Italy. Obviously. So, obviously, it looks to me that that's what's going on. And we probably are over there interviewing Misfit right now. And, of course, after doing so, he's probably is going to have to be given witness protection program. He probably is going to have to be put in a witness protection program by the FBI, maybe the Italians can protect him. I don't know, but once Misfit talks, damage is done. But they could still go after him for revenge. I mean, he would already have given up the information that they want to protect, but it'll be out by that point. But they might still go after him just, for revenge. So he's probably going to need to have complete name change, identity change. Apparently that's already happened. And he's just going to have to lay low for the rest of his life and just be, some guy living somewhere under an assumed name. They'll probably have to give him a little house and some money or whatever. But yeah, this thing is collapsing, and I would say there's a very likely what Papadopoulos is suspects here is true, based on the evidence that we're looking at here. That makes sense. Certainly, now that it's been outed where he is, and that the Italian government knows where he is, obviously, that would not have happened unless there was a reason for it. And now that they know where he is, you can bet that they're going to be over there interviewing him and hopefully getting the truth out of him this time, because he's lied in the past. He also lied, and that's probably how they can force him to tell the truth, is because he lied to Uncle Bob the Executioner. He lied about when and how often he met Papadopoulos. He lied about the setup with this woman being Putin's niece, saying it was Putin's niece. He's lied about other things, apparently, to the Mueller team. So, he's lied to the FBI, the DOJ. I'm sure that they're going to get to the bottom of Misfit. He simply is not a powerful enough figure on his own. Without his friends, he's not powerful enough on his own to be able to hold these people off. So, and I can't imagine for the life of me that Attorney General Barr is not going to be doing everything he can to get Misfit's testimony, hopefully a truthful testimony, because he is seriously key to this whole thing. He is the one who allegedly told Papadopoulos, according to Papadopoulos, that the Russians had Hillary Clinton email, thousands of Hillary Clinton's emails. And so that makes him, that's where it all started for that part of the plot. And so you have to interview Misfit. You absolutely have to interview Misfit. And I'm sure Barr understands that very clearly. And I'm sure that that's exactly what is going on. Behind the scenes right now, there are a lot of people flipping. There are a lot of people consulting their attorneys and finding out when they should flip. Remember, generally it's only the first 1 or 2, maybe 3 people that get the deal. Everyone else gets locked out. You don't want to be the second guy in line looking for a deal when you're guilty as hell. And there's a lot of guilty people here. And it goes all the way up to the top. The Rotten Reverend and Obama himself. He also is talking about in this radio interview. He explains more on this woman, Arvinder Sambai, S-A-M-B-E-I, Sambai, S-A-N, or M, I can't tell, my handwriting. But you know who I'm talking about. This woman who was the FBI's legal attaché in the UK, who also has a working relationship with Mueller that goes back 20 years. Papadopoulos is now saying, and I think we learned this a couple weeks ago as well, that it was this Arvinder Sambai that introduced Bruce and Nellie Orr to Arlen Sanders. And who is Arlen Sanders? Well, the equivalent of the Deputy Attorney General in the UK. And this introduction occurred 4 days before the Trump Tower meeting. So 4 days before the Trump Tower meeting, we have this Arvinder Sambai, who's the FBI's legal attaché in the UK, who's good friends with Mueller, introducing Bruce and Nellie to this woman, Arlen Sanders, who's the deputy, equivalent to the deputy AG in the UK, and this all happens 4 days before the Trump Tower meeting. And this occurred apparently at the Orr's home, Bruce and Nellie's home, where they were hosting a dinner. It was Sambai who told Papadopoulos to go to Rome, where he was introduced to Misfit. My oh my. And let's see. DeGeneva was on Lou Dobbs. And he said there is going to be a grand jury, and Obama folks are going to need lawyers. Wow. There you go. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so I'm going to do just a really quick, 2-minute video for the dumbass of the week. I have to do a separate video to do it. I can't get it on this one. So look for a very short video when we'll go through dumbass of the week. Thank you all for tuning in. See you. Bye.